Okay, let's unpack this. I have to be honest with you, and I'm going to be totally real here. When I first saw the title of the document we are diving into today, I almost archived it immediately. I thought it was a mistake.
It's not exactly catchy, is it?
Catchy. It's called A Trust in Truth Civil Governance Blueprint for Post-Collapse Reconstitution. I mean, come on.
It rolls right off the tongue.
It sounds like the world's driest legal textbook. It sounds like something you'd read to cure insomnia on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
But then I actually opened the file, and I started reading. And about 5 pages in, my jaw hit the floor. Because this isn't a textbook.
Yeah.
It's essentially an engineering manual for rebuilding civilization from scratch.
That is exactly what it is. And I think the dryness of the title is actually a very deliberate design choice. We are so used to collapse content being, high octane, right?
Oh, totally.
It's usually about bunkers, hoarding, ammo, beans, and fighting off marauders. It's this Hollywood version of survival where everyone becomes Rambo.
Right, the prepper fantasy.
Yeah.
The lone wolf against the world.
Exactly. But this document, this is the absolute antithesis of that. It assumes that the shooting has stopped, the adrenaline has faded, and now you have, say, 50 scared people looking at you asking, okay, the world is broken. How do we eat? How do we stop killing each other? How do we live?
So it's not for the crisis itself. It's for the morning after.
Yes. This isn't a manual for surviving the apocalypse. It's a manual for fixing the mess afterwards.
And the premise is radical. I mean, usually when we talk about rebuilding society, people start talking about elections or writing a constitution or who's going to be the president. This blueprint basically says, stop.
Just stop.
Don't do that. Put down the Constitution. Politics is a luxury item you cannot afford right now.
It calls politics a coordination technology that fails under stress. That's the key insight right at the beginning. It's a tool, and this is a situation where that specific tool is not just useless, it's actually harmful.
It gets in the way.
It gets in the way, it slows things down, it creates factions when what you need is function.
So the mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We are going to take this massive 500-page operational manual and figure out how a group of ordinary people, neighbors, strangers, whoever is left, can go from absolute chaos to a functioning, fair society in 72 hours.
A minimum viable civilization, as they call it.
And we're going to see why the secret ingredient isn't strong leadership or shared values. It's something much more boring. It's trust.
But not trust as a warm, fuzzy feeling.
Yo.
Trust as hard infrastructure, like a bridge, something you build that has specifications that can be inspected and that either holds weight or it doesn't.
Right. It's not a feeling, it's a function. Okay, so let's start with the diagnosis. The document opens with this really intense analysis of the physics of collapse. And I want to slow down here because usually when I hear collapse, I think the power goes out. But this document is saying the power going out is just a symptom, right?
Right. It distinguishes between the event and the failure. The power going out is the event. The failure is what happens next. It lists 5 failure modes that cascade into each other, and the order matters.
What are they?
You've got currency failure, supply chain failure, legitimacy failure, law enforcement failure, and then the big one, information failure.
Okay, that's a lot. Let's take legitimacy failure. That sounds abstract. What does that actually look like on the street?
It's actually very concrete. Legitimacy is why you stop at a red light at 3 in the morning when no one is watching.
Right.
You believe the system works. You believe in the shared set of rules. Legitimacy failure is when the guy in the uniform says stop and people just keep walking.
Because the uniform doesn't mean anything anymore. The symbol has lost its power.
Exactly. The authority behind the symbol is gone, and once that legitimacy snaps, you hit law enforcement failure. Now, the police aren't protecting the community, they're protecting their own families.
And their own supply.
And their own supplies. They effectively become the biggest, best-armed gang in town. Not out of malice, necessarily, but out of necessity.
That's a terrifying thought. But logically it tracks. If the paycheck isn't coming, if the system they swore to protect is gone, why would they stand post? Their primary duty shifts to their own kin.
Precisely. And that leads to the one that really spirals everything out of control. Information failure.
This was the one that really stood out to me. We assume we'll know what's going on. We assume we'll have news, the internet, something.
But under stress, the first thing to go is shared reality. Rumors move faster than facts. It's the fog of war applied to your own neighborhood. Is the bridge out? Is the water contaminated? Are they coming?
And you can't make good decisions without good information.
You make fatal decisions. If you don't know where the food is, or you hear a rumor that the water supply is poisoned when it isn't, you might flee into a more dangerous situation. The blueprint argues that in the first 72 hours, accurate, verifiable information is actually more valuable than ammunition.
Wow. Okay. That's a huge claim. More valuable than ammo.
Because ammo helps you win a fight, information helps you avoid the fight altogether.
This leads to the stress test concept. And I have to ask the obvious question here. Why can't we just use normal politics to fix this? If the water stops running, why don't we just elect a council, vote on a plan, and fix it? That's how we've done things for hundreds of years.
Because politics relies on indirect coordination. Think about the chain of custody in a normal world. You vote for a mayor. The mayor appoints a bureaucrat. The bureaucrat hires a contractor. The contractor buys parts. The contractor fixes the pipe. That chain is long.
And it's slow.
It's slow, and under stress, that chain breaks at every single link. The mayor has no legitimacy, the bureaucrat isn't getting paid, the contractor supply lines are cut. It doesn't work. The blueprint argues that in a post-collapse scenario, legitimacy isn't something you can claim because you won an election.
Right.
It's something you accumulate by delivering results.
This is the service over ideology thing.
Precisely. Politics asks, what do you believe? Service asks, what do you need? In a crisis, nobody cares about your manifesto. They don't care about your 5-year plan. They care if you can deliver clean water.
And if you can.
If you can deliver water, you have authority. If you give a great speech but the tap is dry, you're just noise. You're actually a liability because you're burning calories and time that could be spent solving the actual problem.
That brings us to this central philosophy that runs through the whole document. Proof beats persuasion. I love this line. It's so simple. It basically says, in a low-trust environment, which is what a collapse is by definition.
The lowest trust environment imaginable.
You cannot ask people to trust you. You have to give them proof.
Right. It introduces the concept of trust objects.
Okay, define that. Because trust object sounds like something from a video game. Like I need to go find the trust object to level up.
It does a bit. But think of it this way. A speech is not a trust object. A promise is not a trust object. Those are ephemeral. A logbook, a physical ledger showing exactly how much food came in, exactly whose hands it went into, and signed by 2 witnesses. That is a trust object.
It's something I can see and verify for myself. I don't need to take your word for it.
Yes, the system is designed to replace trust me with check this. It externalizes trust from a person's character to a system's process.
It's almost like it assumes everyone is going to be skeptical and paranoid.
It assumes everyone is traumatized. And traumatized people don't respond to rhetoric. They respond to consistency and predictability. If you tell me you're fair, I don't believe you. I have no reason to. But if you show me the ledger that proves you didn't take an extra ration for yourself for a week straight,
then I might start to believe the ledger. Not you, necessarily, but the ledger.
Exactly. You start to trust the process. And that's the beginning of rebuilding.
So let's move to the solution. The document talks about the MVC. In the tech world, that usually means minimum viable product. But here it stands for minimum viable civilization.
I love this concept. It's so practical. It asks, what is the absolute floor? What is the irreducible stack of functions you need to stop a society from spiraling into violence or death?
Like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but for a whole community.
A very specific, very operationalized version of it. And it puts them in a very specific order. And the order is rigid. It's not a menu where you pick what you like. It's a structural hierarchy. One layer builds on the next.
And number 1 isn't food or water, which is what I would have guessed.
No.
It's safety, specifically the predictable absence of violence.
This is crucial. The document argues that fear collapses cognition. If you are terrified that your neighbor might hurt you or that someone is going to kick down the door in the middle of the night, you literally cannot plan for tomorrow.
You're in survival mode.
Your brain is stuck in the amygdala. You are in fight or flight. You can't think strategically. You can't cooperate. So before you can even organize a food drive, you have to establish a nonviolent boundary, a space where people can, let their shoulders down just a little bit.
Okay, so you establish safety first. Then comes the biological stuff. Food, water, sanitation, shelter, health.
Right, the things that keep your body alive. But notice where information sits in that stack. It's right there with the physical needs. It's not an afterthought.
It's as important as water.
Because if you feed people but they are consumed by terrifying rumors, the society still collapses. Fear and misinformation are just as deadly as thirst.
I want to double-click on something that appears on almost every page of this blueprint: child primacy. Now, I have to be honest, when I first read this, I rolled my eyes a little bit.
A lot of people do.
It felt like a campaign slogan. Want someone, think of the children. It felt emotionally manipulative. Like, surely we have bigger problems than sentimentalism.
That's a totally fair reaction. In normal politics, children are used as props all the time. But the text explains it differently. It says this isn't sentiment, it's a continuity condition.
Okay, so unpack the continuity condition. What does that mean in practical terms?
It's engineering logic applied to morality. Think of it like this. If a system prioritizes the well-being of adults over children, it has inverted its future capacity. It has eaten its own seed corn. It's a system that is, by definition, liquidating itself.
It has no future.
It has no future. So operationally, this is drastic. It means in any rationing scenario, food, water, medicine, shelter children, get it first, period. No exceptions.
Let's play that out.
It implies that if you are a 40-year-old man, a strong worker, and there is only enough antibiotic for you or a 6-year-old girl, the system gives it to the 6-year-old, even if you are the one digging the latrines.
Okay, put that way, it's cold logic, but in practice.
True.
Are you telling me that if I'm a starving adult, I have to watch a kid eat my ration, that's going to cause a riot?
It might, and that's why the rule has to be established on day one, before the starvation sets in. It's a binding covenant. You agree to it when you join the group. It's one of the non-negotiables.
And if you can't agree?
You can't be part of the group because your logic is incompatible with the long-term survival of the group. It also acts as a child test for legitimacy. This is a heuristic they mention constantly.
A heuristic.
Yeah, a shortcut for complex decision-making. In chaos, you don't have time to debate ethics for hours. So for any decision, you ask the question, if a child were watching how we handled this, would they feel safer or more afraid?
That clarifies things instantly.
It really does. It cuts through ego and complexity. Are we shouting and threatening each other? A child would be afraid. Are we calmly looking at a ledger and distributing food? A child would feel safe. It's a grounding mechanism.
Okay, so we have the hierarchy of needs. Child primacy is the core ethic. Now let's talk about the structure. How do we organize people? The blueprint rejects the idea of a town council or a president. Instead, it talks about cells.
This is based on the idea that humans can only maintain high-trust relationships with a limited number of people. You've probably heard of Dunbar's number, right?
Yeah, around 150 people is the limit for a stable social group.
Right. So this blueprint is even more conservative. It suggests a cell should be between 12 and 50 people.
Why that size? Why not 500? Strengthen numbers, right?
Because at 50 people, face-to-face trust still works. I know you. I know if you did your shift guarding the perimeter. I know if your family seems to have a little more food than everyone else. I know if you're lying, just from your body language.
There's natural accountability.
Exactly. Once you get to 500 people, I don't know you anymore. You're just a face in the crowd. And once I don't know you, I need institutions, police, bureaucrats, and surveillance to manage you. But in a collapse, you don't have those institutions. So you have to stay small to stay honest.
But 50 people can't rebuild the world. You need scale. You need a lot of hands to farm or build defenses or restart a power grid. That feels like a major weakness.
And that's where the replication protocol comes in. The document uses the term mitosis, which is just a fancy biology word for cell division. But think of it like a dinner party.
A dinner party?
Yeah. If you have 6 people at a table, everyone is part of one conversation. It flows. You trust that everyone is listening. But what happens if you invite 20 people to that same table?
It breaks up. You get little cliques. I talk to the guy next to me, but I have no idea what's happening at the other end of the table. The shared context is gone.
Exactly. The single conversation dies. That's the moment the cell has to split. Not because people are angry or there's a problem, but because once you can't look everyone in the eye, trust stops being natural and starts requiring bureaucracy.
So it's a proactive split.
It's a healthy, planned split. The blueprint wants to avoid bureaucracy at all costs. So when a group hits, say, 80 people, it doesn't build a bigger meeting hall. It splits into 2 groups of 40.
And here's the kicker. The original cell doesn't rule the new one. It's not like the mother church and the new parish.
Correct. There is no hierarchy. They become a federation of equals. They can coordinate, they can trade, they can support each other, but cell A cannot give orders to cell B. This prevents the emergence of an empire or a central dictatorship. It scales horizontally, not vertically.
It's like a network, not a pyramid.
A resilient, decentralized network. If one cell fails, the others continue. If the top of a pyramid gets corrupted, the whole thing rots.
So you have these cells. How do they keep track of things? We talked about trust objects earlier. This brings us to the trust ledger. The document says, if it's not recorded, it didn't happen.
This is the system's memory. In a high-trust society, we can do things on a handshake. In a post-collapse society, memory is faulty. Trauma messes with your memory. People rewrite history to make themselves look good. The ledger is a public, physical record of facts.
What kind of facts?
Decisions made, resource flows, who took what from the stores, disputes that were resolved, everything that impacts the group.
So essentially, the savior of civilization isn't a warrior with a sword. It's an accountant with a clipboard.
Pretty much. It's the revenge of the nerds. The person who is meticulous, organized, and honest is more valuable than the person who is strong and charismatic.
That is going to be a hard sell for the action movie fans out there. Come join our revolution. We have spreadsheets.
It's the least sexy revolution in history. But think about it. When does your household fight? It's when you forgot to write down that you spent $100. It's when the memory fails. The ledger is just a way to stop gaslighting before it starts.
The document also makes a big deal about the difference between witness records and opinion logs.
Explain that difference.
Yeah, that was fascinating. A witness record is a fact. We allocated 50 cans of beans to Group A at 2:00 p.m. on Tuesday. Signed, Jane and Bob. That is a verifiable, testable fact.
And an opinion log.
An opinion log says, I felt like Group A was greedy and didn't deserve those beans. The blueprint says the ledger only cares about the beans. It only records witness records.
It forces the community to govern based on reality, not narrative or feeling or resentment.
Which is huge. It also mentions that secrecy is forbidden. It says privacy exists for people, but secrecy is banned for governance.
Right. You can close the door to your bedroom, that's privacy, but you cannot close the door to the treasury room. The moment a leader says, I need to make this decision in secret for the good of the group,
Big red flag.
it's treated as a hostile act by the system that's an anti-capture mechanism.
Speaking of hostile acts, let's get into the anti-capture toolkit. So we have these cells, and they're splitting and growing. That sounds efficient, but it also sounds, well, fragile. I mean, history shows us that eventually someone ambitious comes along, hijacks the system, and turns it into a kingdom. How does this blueprint stop a Napoleon from taking over a cell?
That is the eternal problem, right? The iron law of oligarchy. Any organization, no matter how democratic, will eventually be run by a small elite. And this is where the document shifts from civil engineering to immune system defense.
I like that framing.
It acknowledges that in crises, humans have a bug in our operating system. We crave a strong man. We are terrified, and we want a charismatic savior to stand up and say, I alone can fix it.
And the document argues that this is the fastest way to tyranny and eventual failure.
The absolute fastest. Because you trade process for a person, and when that person fails or becomes corrupt, the whole system implodes.
So how does it stop the charismatic leader? It has this concept of no rulers, only stewards. What's the difference?
It redefines leadership completely. A steward has what they call negative authority.
Okay, give me an analogy. What is negative authority?
Think of a referee in a football game. The referee has authority, right? A lot of it.
Right.
But it's negative authority. They can blow the whistle, they can stop a play, they can enforce the rules.
They can throw a flag for a foul.
Exactly. But the referee cannot pick up the ball and score a touchdown. They cannot tell the team which play to run. A steward in this system is a referee. They protect the boundaries, but they cannot command the people.
That is a huge shift. Usually, we think of leaders as the people with a vision who tell us where to go.
And that's dangerous when accountability is low. A leader with positive command authority says, we're all going to march north. A steward says, the covenant says we don't steal from each other. John, you just stole. That's a foul. They protect the system. They don't direct the people.
So the system is designed to have structural friction against charisma. For example, mandatory rotation.
Everyone rotates.
Everyone, no matter how good they are.
Everyone, even the best leader, the one everyone loves, the one who saved the day, they must step down after their term, which is usually set at something short, like 3 to 6 months.
But wouldn't people argue, oh, but he's so good at organizing the food pantry, we need him? I can hear that argument happening right now.
The document addresses that directly. It says if a role cannot be handed over, it is overscoped.
What does that mean?
It means the role has accumulated too much specialized knowledge or power. If you are indispensable, you are a systemic risk. You're a single point of failure. If you get sick or die or just get corrupted, the whole system breaks.
So mandatory rotation isn't just about preventing tyranny, it's about building resilience.
Yes, it forces knowledge transfer. It forces the creation of simple, clear, standard operating procedures. It proves the system works, not just the person.
And then there's the evidence packet. This is my favorite anti-BS tool in the whole document.
It's the death of the demagogue. It's beautiful in its simplicity.
Explain how it works.
Okay, so in a normal political meeting, the most charismatic person stands up, gives a fiery speech, works up the crowd's emotions, gets everyone nodding, and gets a vote passed. In this system, that's illegal.
You can't do that.
You can't. To propose a major decision, you must first submit an evidence packet. It has to contain the data you used, the context, the potential risks of your plan, the potential benefits, and a specific analysis of the impact on children.
And if you don't have the packet, if you just want to stand up and say, I have a gut feeling we should do this,
The proposal is deferred, automatically. It doesn't matter how good your speech was. Rhetoric is neutralized by process. It slows things down, yes, but it prevents emotional hijacking. It forces everyone to argue from the same set of facts.
let's talk about money or resources, the treasury layer. This is a big one.
This is where corruption usually starts, right? The common pot of money that everyone wants to get their hands on. The blueprint uses a concept called ring fencing.
Ring fencing.
Money is never pooled into a general slush fund. If you donate to the community or if the community generates resources, you don't just put it in the treasury, you allocate it to the water fund or the clinic fund or the seed fund for spring. Each purpose has its own bucket.
So the leader can't just grab money from the water budget to build themselves a nice office.
Exactly. The funds are earmarked and their use is restricted, and then it adds another layer. The person who approves the spending from the water fund cannot be the person who holds the actual resources for the water fund,
Yep.
and neither of them can be the person who audits the books for the water fund.
Separation of duties. Classic anti-fraud technique.
Classic, but applied with extreme discipline. It creates structural friction against theft. It makes it really, really hard to steal without getting caught.
Okay, we've built the structure, we have the defenses. Now, what does the government actually do? The blueprint calls this the service layer. And it says something interesting. Government is simply reliable service delivery. That's it. Full stop.
It strips away all the pomp and circumstance, all the ideology. It says you are not a government because you have a flag or a title or an anthem. You are a government if you are feeding people.
And if you stop.
If you stop feeding people, you stop being the government, your legitimacy evaporates. It's that direct.
Let's look at the specific modules, because I felt like this section was where the rubber meets the road. Let's start with the food security module. This gets grim but practical. It talks about rationing ethics.
This is where the hard choices happen. In a collapse, there isn't enough. That's the reality. Most systems hide this or let it play out through violence. They let the rich buy food or the strong take it.
This system makes it explicit.
It demands explicit prioritization. We talked about child primacy. Children eat first, then pregnant and vulnerable people. But then there's a controversial one, contributors.
Right, this is the one that's going to make people angry. It says people doing critical physical work to keep the system running, purifying water, tending crops, standing guard eat before the general population.
Sounds unfair, doesn't it? It goes against our idea of pure equality.
It does. It feels like it's creating a class system.
But the document argues it's pure systems logic. If the people purifying the water or growing the food collapse from hunger, everyone starves. It's not a reward for being better, it's maintenance of the engine. The engine needs fuel to run. But the key is transparency.
What do you mean?
The rationing rules are posted publicly, the inventory is public, and if food runs out, the document says it runs out openly. You don't lie and say more is coming. You stand before the community and say, the warehouse is empty. Here is the log. We are all in this together. Hiding scarcity destroys trust faster than scarcity itself.
Then there's the water and sanitation module. The expert note here calls sanitation the boring hero.
Because it is.
Yeah.
We focus on the dramatic threats, marauders, starvation, but history shows that disease has killed more civilizations than armies.
Cholera, dysentery.
These are the real killers in a post-collapse environment. The blueprint emphasizes that managing waste, human waste, trash, dead bodies, is the highest priority for public health.
And it's not left to chance.
No. It prescribes standard operating procedures, SOPs, for this, written down. Simple language, lots of pictures. So if the one guy who knows how to fix the chlorine pump dies, someone else can pick up the manual and do it. It's about de-skilling critical tasks.
Let's talk about the health module. It brings up ethical triage. This is maybe the darkest part of the whole document.
This is the hardest part. In a resource-rich world, we try to save everyone. We have the luxury of doing that. In a collapse, you can't. The module enforces strict triage protocols. You categorize patients into 3 groups.
What are they?
Group 1, those who will live regardless of what you do, the walking wounded. Group 2, those who will die regardless of what you do, their injuries are too severe for the resources you have.
In Group 3.
Those for whom immediate care makes a difference between life and death. You focus all your limited resources, your one doctor, your handful of bandages, your last bottle of morphine on that middle group.
That's brutal. You're actively deciding to let people die.
You are. But the logic is that trying to save everyone usually results in saving no one. It's the cold, hard math of maximizing lives saved. It's brutal, but pretending you can save everyone is a comforting lie that leads to worse outcomes.
And it mentions mental health as a first response item, not a luxury to be dealt with later.
Because panic is a contagion. A mental health crisis in a closed, stressed cell can spiral into violence faster than anything. So treating trauma, calming people down, giving them a role and a sense of purpose, that is considered critical safety infrastructure, just like a wall or a guard post.
And finally, shelter. The rule here is simple: allocation fairness.
Visible rules. If the leader gets the biggest house, the system fails. If the biggest donor gets the best room, the system fails. The allocation has to be based on demonstrated need, family size, medical vulnerability, things like that, and the allocation list has to be public on the ledger for everyone to see.
No backroom deals.
No backroom deals. The system is designed to make those impossible.
Okay, I want to make this real for you listening. We've got the theory. Now, I want to get really granular here. The document has this go signal checklist for the first 72 hours. Let's say the lights have been out for 3 days, phones are dead, a group of us have gathered in the community hall. It's day 1. What is the very first thing that happens?
The very first thing is strictly physical. Before anyone even speaks, the document calls it perimeter control. You close the doors, you post someone at the entrance, you literally define the physical space where the new rules are going to apply.
You create a container.
You create a container for trust. If you have people wandering in and out, bringing rumors and chaos, you can't build anything.
Okay, doors are locked. We're all in the room. Who is running the meeting?
This is critical. You do not let the loudest person run it. You don't let the former mayor or CEO take over. The blueprint suggests asking for a temporary facilitator, not a leader, someone who's just there to manage the clock and make sure everyone gets to speak.
And the first item on the agenda isn't who is in charge.
No.
Oh.
The first item is, what are our constraints?
This is the non-negotiables list we touched on.
Yes, and this is where it gets really uncomfortable really fast. The facilitator has to stand up and say, okay, everyone, if you want to stay in this room and be part of this group, you must agree to 3 things right now.
What are they?
1, nonviolence. We do not use violence to solve problems within the group. 2, truth discipline. We agree to record our actions and decisions, and we agree that the record is our shared truth. 3, child primacy. In all decisions, the safety and well-being of children comes first.
And if you can't agree to that,
You have to leave.
that's a heavy moment. You're potentially kicking your neighbors out into the chaos.
You are. But the expert note here is fascinating. It says, exclusion is the price of cohesion. If you try to include the guy who thinks might makes right, your system will fail by day 3. It will be poisoned from the start. You have to filter for alignment on core principles before you even start talking about skills.
Okay, let's say we get through that. Most people agree. A few leave. It's day 2. Roles in service. What happens now?
You assign the 3 interim roles we just talked about: a facilitator to run the meetings, a recorder to start the ledger, a steward to watch the rules, and then you pick one service, just one.
Don't try to fix everything at once.
Exactly. This is a common failure mode. A group tries to build a hospital and a school and a police force on day 2. They overpromise and underdeliver, and trust collapses. The blueprint says to pick the most urgent thing, usually clean water or a food inventory, and do that one thing well.
Prove the system works on a small scale first.
Yes. Because delivering one thing creates more legitimacy than promising 10 things. Success builds momentum.
Day 3. the ledger.
You start recording. You make the system visible. You take that inventory of the food and you post it on the wall for everyone to see. You post the log of the decisions made on day 2. You show people that there are no secrets. This act of making the system's brain visible is maybe the most important trust-building action you can take.
And then you settle into the weekly rhythm.
Yeah.
This isn't just a 72-hour plan, is it?
No, it's about creating a sustainable new normal. The weekly rhythm is the heartbeat of the cell, a weekly meeting. Not a debate society, but a business meeting.
What's the agenda?
Simple. Service leads report their metrics, not stories, metrics. We purified 500 gallons of water. We consumed 480. We have a net gain of 20. The pump is running at 90% efficiency. Facts. Not, we're doing great, but here are the numbers.
It takes the ego out of it.
Completely. And then you have incident response. The rule here is silence is forbidden.
What does that mean?
If something goes wrong, food is stolen, someone gets hurt, a water filter breaks, it must be acknowledged immediately and publicly. The cover-up is what kills the cell. Admitting a failure quickly allows the group to solve it. Hiding it allows it to fester.
We're getting toward the end of the stack here, Section 7. The immune system. Adjudication. Because people are going to fight, things will go wrong.
Inevitably. The truth constraint is the first line of defense. We touched on this. The system defines truth not as consensus or what feels right, but as what survives verification.
Falsifiability.
Yes. If you make a claim, John stole my food, that claim has to be testable. Is there evidence? Are there witnesses? If a claim cannot be tested, it cannot govern. This shuts down rumors and accusations.
And when rules are actually broken, the adjudication layer, how does that work without prisons or police in the traditional sense?
The goal here is repair, not punishment. It's based on restorative justice. If you steal bread, locking you in a room costs the community resources. It doesn't help anyone. Instead, the process is focused on you working to pay back the bread and repair the harm done to the community's trust.
But there is an escalation ladder. It's not just a friendly chat.
No, it's a formal process. Local mediation first. Try to work it out with a person you have a dispute with, guided by a neutral third party. If that fails, it goes to a formal panel of randomly selected cell members. If that fails, there's an appeal. But it's all recorded on the ledger.
And the audit engine is constantly running in the background.
The audit engine sounds high-tech, but it's not.
It sounds like an algorithm.
It's just structural hygiene. It's a standing rule that says, if the records say we have 100 gallons of water in the tank, and someone measures it and we only have 80, an audit triggers automatically. It's not an accusation against the water steward. It's a system check. Why is there a gap? Maybe it's a leak. Maybe it's theft. Maybe it's bad record keeping. The audit finds out. It removes the personal drama from accountability.
So we've built this whole thing. We have safety, food, stewards, ledgers, audits. And I'm looking at it, and it seems incredibly boring.
It is. That's the whole point.
I mean, where are the parades? Where are the rousing speeches? Where's the glory? This sounds like running a well-managed, slightly paranoid condo association.
There is no glory, and that is the point. The outro of our deep dive here is the synthesis, the boring utopia. The expert insight in the document is that resilience is boring. Excitement in a governance system usually means instability. It means drama. It means unpredictability.
So the ideal post-collect society isn't Mad Max, and it isn't some high-tech Star Trek enclave. It's a place of boring, reliable records, rotating chores, clean water, and people checking a clipboard.
Exactly. It's a place where you know that if you get sick, there is a protocol. If you have a dispute, there is a process. You can actually relax because the system is predictable. You don't have to be friends with everyone. You don't have to agree on religion or politics. You just have to agree on the process.
It's interesting. The document ends by returning to that child test again. If a child were watching how we handled this, would they feel safer or more afraid?
It's the ultimate grounding wire. It cuts through all the ego, all the ideology, all the arguments about what's efficient or strong. If what we are building makes the most vulnerable people in our midst feel afraid, then it's wrong. Tear it down and start over.
This blueprint really challenges the idea that we need to agree on big philosophical things to survive. You know, a shared culture, a shared God, a shared destiny.
It suggests we just need to agree on how we treat the truth and how we serve each other's basic needs.
And that legitimacy comes from doing the work. Not from the flag you fly, but from the water you pour.
That's it. Proof beats persuasion.
So here's the final thought for you listening.
Mm-hmm.
We all hope we never have to use a manual like this. We hope the lights stay on and the supply chains hold. But if they didn't, if the clock started ticking on those first 72 hours, who would you be in that room? Would you be the one making speeches? Or would you be the one starting the ledger?
Would you be the ruler? Or the steward.
Something I'm all over. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Stay safe out there.